From Pascal's role being a complete secret, to the actor proving why he's the perfect lead, here's everything you need to know about Weapons starring Pedro Pascal. After rocking the world with his performance in The Last of Us, the internet's favorite star is back in another horror story. But is he really the hero in this one too? Maybe not. Because honestly right now the biggest question is, could he be the villain this time? Or is he just going to be the good guy like always? Well, there's some good news and some bad news over here. The good news is that it's been confirmed he's definitely going to be in the film. And you can probably expect him to play a lead role in one way or another, since he's at his peak these days, and it would just be a dumb move not to have him play a main character. But he's not the only actor confirmed for the project. You also got Renata Reinsve from The Worst Person in the World joining the cast. On the other hand, the studio's been keeping pretty much everything under wraps. Why? Because they're just not ready to talk about the cast yet. But why is it such a big deal to them in the first place? Mainly because they don't want to spoil the fun for anyone. I mean, they won't even talk about Renata's character, which just isn't fair. Though, to be honest, there's so much more on this film than the cast. If rumors are true, then it's got a banger plot. So what's the film about? If you're asking that from the official team behind the project, they're probably gonna say something very vague. I mean, they just keep on saying that it's got the same tone as Magnolia from 1999. The same one made by Paul Thomas Anderson. But honestly, what does that even mean? They really couldn't be more cryptic about this. Most of you have probably never even heard of the film. So what are they trying to hint at? Well, it's the fact that it has a bunch of different characters, all of them looking for happiness in their own lives. That's when things really start to get interesting. So their actions start to affect each other, making it so all the characters are connected in one way or another, even though they've never even talked to each other. Of course, that makes me wonder whether Weapons is going to have different leading characters to achieve the same tone. Are they going to be on a search for their own happiness in this one too? Even if the filmmakers do go down that route, you're still going to have to put up with a lot of supernatural elements. I mean, it is a horror film after all. Though, once again, I have some bad news here too. The producers just don't want any information leaking out, so they're staying pretty hush-hush about the plot as well, which is pretty fair for the same reasons. I can kind of get why they'd want to keep it a secret since it's just been announced. You don't want anyone out there predicting the story before it even comes out, do you? But they haven't left us completely high and dry. I can give you some deets about the director of the film. Remember the horror movie called Barbarian from 2022? Of course you do. It's one of the best horror films to come out this decade. So you're going to be more than happy to know that Weapons is directed by the same person. You heard that right. Zach Cregger is the one spearheading this project, which gives you a very clear idea of what you're going to see in the film. But this isn't Cregger's first rodeo. His directing and writing career started back in 2009, when he was working on Miss March as both the co-writer and director. And then he did the same for the Civil War on Drugs back in 2011. Though Barbarian has to be the film where he really got to do whatever the hell he wanted, since he was the main guy behind the camera. So you know that he's got a knack for building some great relationships between characters, along with the skill to make something truly horrifying. And because the Pedro Pascal star just seems like the perfect blend of the two, could this be the film that really takes it home for him? In fact, there was a huge bidding war between studios for a chance to work with him, particularly on this film. Though in the end, New Line won with a deal that's super rare in Hollywood. You might be wondering what's so special about it in the first place. Apparently, the studio had to greenlight the film and give a guarantee for a theatrical release. Only then was Zach gonna sign on with anyone, along with a buttload of money that's being kept under wraps as well. Of course it is. Though rumors say that it's about 8 times more than his $4.5 million budget for Barbarian. Obviously, though, he's not the only guy working behind the camera. This brings up a huge question that could set the tone for the upcoming film. Who else is in the crew? Zach might be the big-name director this time, but he's not the only person making the film. You've also got most of the crew from his hit film from 2022. That includes producers such as Roy Lee, the iconic mind behind the upcoming Minecraft film, Cobweb, and even Boy Kills World. He's going to be joined by J.D. Lifshitz, who's also worked on some of the biggest films in the past decade, such as Dismissed, Gone in the Night, and The Vigil. That's not all. I mean, I can't forget about Rafael Margulis, who's not only worked with Lifshitz on his biggest projects, but has also been behind Bad Match, Firestarter, and even Pledge. Talk about a crew that you can't ever let go of, am I right? But what's a film without some great writing? So fear not, because Zach's picking up the pen again and is going to take on the role of writing this one as well. So it's safe to say that we're all in for the ride of a lifetime. All that sounds like a pretty sweet deal to me. The only thing that would make it sweeter is if the film had a release date. But let's just say this one's a little tough, mainly because the film was only recently announced in May of 2023, so you've got next to nothing to go off of. But the team has been nice enough to at least tell the fans when they plan to start shooting for it, and it's much closer than any of you might have thought. Turns out that they're planning to start working on it sometime in the fall of the same year, which means that the film could come out by the end of next year. And while that's pretty great news, you have to admit that things can also get delayed. Considering how delays happen all the time in Hollywood, dragging that potential release window even further to 2025. But for now, all we can really do is wait around and see when the filmmakers bless us with some more deets. Plus, if they're gonna start shooting the film in fall 2023, then you can be sure that a trailer isn't too far off, because usually studios put them out right when filming ends. So who knows, you might even get one at the end of the very same year. If that happens, then you're also going to have a much better idea of what to expect from the whole thing, along with some super important plot details. And, of course, the most important thing of all, we might get a hint about Pascal's character after all this waiting. I mean, it's not that long of a wait if I'm being honest, but until the trailer does come out, are people even looking forward to it? Or are they just sick of seeing Pascal everywhere? The only thing that can answer that question are all the fan reactions to the announcement of the film. Here's where it's gonna get super wholesome. Most fans are pretty happy about the little information they know so far about the film. Yeah, despite having no idea about what Pascal is gonna be doing in Weapons, turns out that fans are loving the fact that their favorite director is finally getting into the big leagues, with a lot of them talking about how he's the main reason, the only reason why they watch shows like The Whitest Kids You Know.
10 easy steps to having the perfect relationship.
You're writing a book about how to have the perfect relationship.
Not to mention that Pascal is a pretty good-looking cherry on top. I mean, who can ever hate this guy? He's incredible in any role he plays. Plus, he's definitely got the skills and intensity to star in a horror drama like this one. So there's really nothing anyone can say about this casting call. Though, obviously, some people are kinda tired of seeing him everywhere. But even they can't deny that the man sure knows how to put on a heck of a performance. I mean, just check out this cool sci-fi thriller called Prospect. It's one of the actor's best performances of all time. And since you get to see him in a similar role in Weapons, you know that he's gonna rock it this time too. So from Pascal being the perfect man for the role, to the filmmakers keeping all details about the cast strictly under wraps, here's everything we know about Weapons starring Pedro Pascal.